Okay, so this is funny. This is our third take for the same damn topic because every time we do this, something happens. So, Sam and Mina are going to talk about mediumship and what exactly mediumship is. Take it away, Mina.
A medium reading. We'll start with medium tarot reading. I'll focus on that. Things to look for when you go to get a medium tarot reading done. If you want to ask about, past ancestors, make sure that the person's a medium. If they're not a medium, then it's most likely not going to be super accurate. And you want it to be as accurate as you can get, right? One of the things that I use to do a medium tarot reading, I always have my mother deck, which is my Egyptian deck. And then I have a separate deck that is for my medium reading. This is a really simple deck that you can buy. Again, ideally, if you're gifted. And, it even says, hey, this is what's happening. Oop, I want to make sure you can see some. And it's pretty cool, right? So it's self-explanatory. But for me, what I do is I don't just look at the words. I actually look inside the picture. So inside the picture, it'll start to tell me things that are happening with the person, with the individual, and what they want to say. And it goes way beyond what the words say. So let us have a medium reading.
This is our third take because the first time we tried to channel my great-grandma. My great-grandma is Native American, and I showed a photo of her on the chat. And for those of you who don't know much about that heritage, it's a big no-no. Because having a photo of yourself taken is like having part of your soul cut. And for some reason, the videotaping we did of my great-grandmother disappeared. And I was like, I feel like that was a sign. So we tried this again with my grandpa. And then my grandpa kept talking about family members that I was like, I don't think this is going to go well. So we're going
to try again.
Just for the sake of, people's privacy, I want to make sure that we keep this to me. So this is our third reading.
Still going to use Grandpa.
We're still going to use Grandpa because he's a happy-go-lucky guy, and he's one of my favorite people. And anybody who knew
worked with him before. So,
and everybody who knew him knows exactly what I'm talking about. So here we go. The first question. Why do you want me to have kids?
Okay, that's fair. Ask me two more.
Is my career going to have travel? And the third one. I see that there's a symbolism when you're around. Can I confirm that is true?
On the career traveling, do I have a timeline?
In the next 6 months.
Okay. And your career, including your normal Monday to Friday job, not us, because we're going to be awesome.
Right, yeah.
Sorry, I had to throw that in. Okay. So when you get a reading done, well, at least when I do a reading, I always have to clean the cards. So I have incense burning right now, and I use that to clean the cards, and I also use that to feed the ancestors. So, okay. When I do readings, I use my Egyptian deck first, and my Egyptian deck, which is my mother deck, and I do them in the shape of a star. And then afterwards, on the next one, I choose 3 decks. I break it up into 3. Some people do like a past, present, future kind of a thing. Some people make it in the shape of an eye, or there's so many options to how to do a reading, and it's really what gravitates towards you. This, I didn't learn it in a book. It is simply something that I do. My intuition, gut over guru says, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start. I haven't even finished turning over all the cards, but I'll start with this. And Sam already knows because I show her these all the time. This is my traveling one, and this is my other traveling one. So the answer is, I don't even have to continue. You have a double travel happening.
Cool. As long as it's not like Cleveland or something.
I can look farther.
Travel's cool, but you want to go someplace cool. You don't want to go to I don't know, Saskatchewan.
I do believe it has to do with work, and it has to do with a woman at your work. And the other two cards I will show you later.
Okay.
Okay. We've learned to some of this stuff I can show on air, and some of the stuff we're not. And
Yeah.
the same thing that you just had. So these are literally some of the same cards we just pulled. So the likelihood that this came back up. That's on. So that's Grandpa saying yes, and this is his garden because she has a garden she's growing.
Yeah.
And I think she is aware of the spirit that's in her garden and the representation. What is that, Sam?
Oh, the butterfly? That's my grandma.
No.
And then there's also a deer. So there's a whole thing when I went to go visit him, and I don't know if I've said this before, but I went to go visit him at his gravesite where my grandma and him are buried, and I just kind of sat and meditated there. And as I was leaving, midday, small town, but still center of town, a fawn came barreling past me with a butterfly in tow. And I remember thinking, oh my God.
With butterfly toe.
It was like a little butterfly, just kind of, it was like really Disney movie-esque moment. And I was like, wow, that must have been something. And ever since then, like when I was feeling really down because I felt like my life wasn't going anywhere, every time I'd go for a walk, butterflies would kind of dance past me. So I think that there's also something to be said about butterflies. Butterflies and deer.
And a lot of Native American, symbolism, whether moth or butterfly, it generally means, like some type of ancestor that's passed on too. So that's kind of cool.
And
so
I never saw
it goes
them
back
before.
So there you go.
I never really saw them. And then out of nowhere, it was like butterflies everywhere.
So here's back to your mind thing, which is, again, similar to the last reading we just did. And he's letting you know, just be free. So not having any anxiety or stress of work, because it's part of all of us, right?
Right.
And okay, so what was your questions? The traveling is answered.
Yeah. Then my other question was, why does he want me to have a baby so bad? What is that?
Oh, the baby question.
Because that's popped up every time. And I'm like, is he just messing with me? What?
Just so you're never alone. So you're never alone.
That is not a good enough reason.
Here.
It's like,
I'm just saying I'm here.
Not a good enough reason, Grandpa.
There is a guy that shows up, but I don't see him. And when I look into other, I don't see him in your life yet. He's actually kind of short. So we'll have to dive into that later. Maybe that's who he wants for the other stuff.
God, I just looked really.
That's who he wants.
I looked really superficial there.
Didn't you once say, like, some other reading said that the guy's like going through, like, finishing? I don't know if he was separating from someone or if he was moving past some personal relationship stuff.
Yeah.
Whoever supposedly the guy is for you. Yeah. So same thing came up. So grandpa's watching over him. He says that guy's suffering right now. So don't worry about it right now. Focus on traveling.
He's short.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, like, I'm not saying he's shorter than you. What for you? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've dated people shorter than me. It's not a big deal. It's when they're like, 7 inches shorter than me. That's a little different.
No, I don't think he's 7 inches shorter. I just think maybe like only 2 inches taller or something.
Oh, I don't care about that.
That's what you say now.
I had somebody that was a little bit shorter than me, and it was no big deal.
Oh,
but it's when they're like a lot shorter that I'm like, this is way off topic. So what else is happening?
That's it.
That's it.
I'm supposed to keep it. I'm supposed to keep it in the realm of. Okay, so another thing, so we wanted to talk about is like, when you go to get a medium reading done, how do you know? How do you know if it's legit? So make sure that these are things that they can't just say like, oh, so he really wants to talk to you and he's really worried about you because of what's happening in your life right now. And you're like, oh, it must be totally this. And you're like giving away all the information to the person that's doing the reading, right? Instead of them actually being like, hey, no, so it's this, this, and this.
Yeah.
So
like I had a really interesting reading once with a woman, and I purposely try to go to ones that I've never met before. And just to see what the response is. And one person went in and she said, I just want you to, she's like, there's a woman from your family that's really strong. She's like, she's somebody I would not want to mess with if she was mad at me. I was like, yeah, it's probably my grandma. And I just kind of went, okay. I didn't say anything. And she goes, and she just wants you to know that there's a symbol of some sort of bird that is indeed her. And there was a bird. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like my mom and I had moments where it's like, keep seeing cranes whenever the family would get together. It would be like there's a crane outside the house, or we'd go out to a restaurant with the family and there was like a statue of a crane just sitting right where we were. And we never noticed it. It was like that sort of stuff. So that was something where I went, okay, she's legit. Because it's like, there's a bird. Your family keeps wondering if it's her. She's saying it is. And I was like, okay, I'm a believer. But
yeah, I make them really go deep. Like if they, obviously for me it's even, but if I'm gonna get a reading, I want to know more stuff. I want to know details. I had this one guy come up to me off the street, and he says, "You have a choice between two guys: a really short guy and a really tall guy. One of them's a real asshole." And I was like, "Okay, so now I have to figure out who's the asshole." Turns out they both were, but. Anyways, the point is like you need to test the things that happen to you, right? And you need to make sure that they're legit.
right.
Don't just
like
we did to hear what you want to hear.
Yeah. Because it's like sometimes people go to a tarot reading because they just want to confirm what they think they already know, and when they get the antithesis of what they think they know or want to know, they don't listen, and you just threw away like $100 or something. Yeah. And
right.
You pulled one where I went, okay, that's real, because you didn't know my great grandma from Adam, and it was something that I was just like, I don't think there's any reason to ever talk about this, but she never married my great grandpa, and he was a bootlegger. He was a gambler. He was not a good dude, and you called that out in the reading. And I was like,
right.
You were like, he's not good. I don't even know if they were married. And I was like, ooh, yeah, that's real. Because that's not something you hear about.
I didn't know anything about her.
Yeah. I mean, I only knew a few things about her. And then there was one point where you said, eat
and
beef.
we should stop this now because out of respect for grandma. All right.
Yes, absolutely.
So make sure that your readings are legit, and when you know that they're legit, if they're saying, hey, warning, don't date this person because they're kind of bad, then maybe you should listen. We'll get into that later. Love tarot readings part 2 coming to your door next. Love you guys.